Thank you. Welcome. The protocol for remote hearings. Only speak when invited to by the chair. If you wish to speak, please raise your hand and direct all communication via the chair. Please ensure that your microphones are muted when you're not speaking. When speaking, please be succinct and do not exceed the allocated time frames. If referring to any written submissions, please refer to the specific page number in the agenda pack. Any new evidence can only be submitted at the discretion of the chair and the agreement of all parties. If you're having technical difficulties, please use the chat function to alert the meeting or dial in using the details in the invitation. Please do not use the chat function for putting formal questions to the subcommittee. Any persistent disruptive behaviour will result in removal from the meeting. Once the applications have been considered, any remaining parties will be asked to log out of the hearing. Please do so promptly so that councillors will have the opportunity to deliberate and make a decision. Each party will be notified of the decision given, noting that this is only TENS here today. They'll be notified tomorrow of a skeleton decision. I will now hand over to members and invite them to elect a chair. Thank you.
Good morning. I'd like to elect Councillor Troughton, or nominate Councillor Troughton, please, as chair.
Thank you, Councillor Sizer. That's fine. So welcome everybody. This meeting is convened under the Special Urgency Provisions, Part 6C, Paragraph 11.8 of the Council's Constitution, and in accordance with the Licensing Act 2003, Section 105(4), to consider temporary event notices, which we'll refer to during the hearing as TENS. Before we begin, can I ask everyone present to introduce themselves, starting with the committee, please? I'll start. My name is Lynn Troughton. I'm a ward councillor in Kings Park Ward. Councillor Sizer.
Councillor Anya Sizer, councillor for Hoxton East and Shoreditch. Thank you.
Right, officers, if you could go in turn, starting with the licensing and then the committee and then the environmental protection officers, please.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Subhash Sriram, I'm a principal licensing officer, and I will be presenting the reports. Thank you.
Good morning, my name is Amanda North from Legal Services, and I'm supporting members this morning. Thank you.
Adeshola, you're on mute.
Hello, can you hear me now? Okay.
Yeah.
Hello, good morning, everybody. My name is Adeshola. I'm an environmental protection officer for Hackney.
Good morning, my name is Rockwell Charles. I'm the Environmental Protection Manager at the London Borough of Hackney.
I'm Natalie Kukai. I'm the Governance Officer Clerk in this meeting. Thank you.
Okay.
And Anwar is ICT here to support. Thank you.
Thank you, Anwar and Natalie. So, Mr. Hudwick, if you would be good enough to introduce yourself, please.
Yeah, Chair, I'm PC Neil Humwick. I'm from the Metropolitan Police's licensing unit.
Thank you. And Mr. Skip, if you would introduce yourself, please.
I'm Alistair Skip. I'm the owner of Hatch on Mackintosh Lane.
Great. Okay, then. Is that everybody then? I think so. Apologies for absence. Councillor Smith was due to attend this meeting, but had to withdraw at the last moment, so I've stood in for him. Are there any declarations of interest? I have none. Councillor Sizer?
None from me, thank you.
So item 4, minutes of the, there are no minutes of previous meetings. So, Amanda, do you want to go through the hearing procedure or shall I do it?
Yes, Chair, I'll just go through the hearing procedure for you now.
Okay, thank
in the agenda pack, there's the licensing subcommittee hearing procedure for temporary event notices. Step 1, the appointment of chair and introductions, which we have done. Step 2, the licensing officer will outline the reports, and that will take up to 5 minutes. Step 3, the responsible authorities, in this case, the responsible authority, the police in this case, will present their cases and the environmental protection team as to why they've made an application to object to the event, and that will take up to 5 minutes. Step 4, the premises user will present their case as to why the event should go ahead, and that will take 5 minutes. Step 5, the discussion phase. The chair will structure and lead a discussion on the information presented and give the subcommittee members the opportunity to seek clarification on matters raised, and that will take up to 15 minutes. Step 6, closing remarks. The chair will ask all parties if they have any final comments to make. Any additional comments shall only be made in relation to the issues raised during the discussion. Any comments made shall be brief, and that will take up to 10 minutes. And final clarification, the licensing subcommittee members will have any final opportunity to seek clarification on any points raised, following which the chair will conclude the discussion, and that will take 5 minutes. And then the members will retire to make their decision, and the other parties will leave the meeting. Thank you. Chair, you're on mute.
Yeah, sorry. Just for clarification, we will be dealing with all the TENS applications together, so we'll do them in unison. There may be differences in terms of what the applicant and environmental protection say, but we will note those as we go along. There's no point in going through them one by one. So thank you, everybody, and let's kick off with the licensing officer. Suba, if you would be good enough to introduce your report. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. So the item we're going to consider this morning is for a temporary event notice, which was given to the licensing service in respect of the premises for the Hatch Homerton, Unit G2, 8 Mackintosh Lane, for the events to be held on the 11th of October 2025, 2nd of November 2025, 9th of November 2025, and 23rd of November 2025, from the event starting from midnight and finishing at 2 a.m. in all these 4 days. We have received objection from the police for the events for the 2nd of November, 9th of November, and 23rd of November, and Environmental Protection has objected to all 4 events. That's why we're holding this hearing, and I have nothing else to add. Thank you, Chair. Sorry, Chair, you're on mute.
So could I now invite the police to make their representations, please?
Chair, I'm going to keep my one brief because the majority of my objections relates to noise matters, and I'll obviously bow to EP with regards to their objections, and I'm here really in support of them. The reason that I've objected for the temporary event notice is that I'm aware that this venue has had 41 noise complaints over the last 3 years, which makes it one of the most troublesome event spaces that we've got with regards to noise complaints. It was on that basis that I objected, unaware at the time that EP had also put objections in. And so, again, as I say, I bow to their superior knowledge of the noise complaints, exactly what's gone on. But certainly from those number of complaints over that period of time, which have been brought to the premises users' attention, I would suggest that probably either the building is not suitable to have regulated entertainment, i.e. amplified music, or else there's some procedure that's not in place that should be in place with regards to doors or windows being opened, because we know no other venue that has had so many complaints over a relatively short period of time. And on that basis, for protection of public nuisance or prevention of public nuisance, we've objected to these event notices. So that's really where the police are at. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, PC Hanwick. Can I now ask the environmental enforcement officers to make their presentation? That's Adishola or Rockwell.
Hello, sorry about that again. As the police said, we've had series of complaints regarding noise and people congregating outside the venue. We've contacted the premises several times as well. We've written them and we've spoken with them, but the noise still continues. On the 23rd of June, we had a complaint, and the officer contacted the complainant, and the noise was still ongoing because usually the complainant doesn't pick their phone when we contact them. So on this particular day, they visited the premises and the noise was very loud. It was so loud that the people in there could not sleep. It was a statutory nuisance. And my colleague went over, the officer on duty on that particular night went over to the arch. They could hear the same type of music they heard in the complainant's property, so they are satisfied the noise was coming from Hatch. And they spoke to Hatch about this, and Hatch said the limiter, they said something about the limiter, it was on the same level, which we were not satisfied. And we decided, because it's the first time we ever witnessed the nuisance, we decided to send a warning letter. But the following day again, the same incident happened. The noise was very, very loud. And the officer went to the complainant's property. It was really, really bad that they could not converse together. They could not hear each other. And they traced the noise to Arch again. Because it's the second day, it's the second warning. The first one was verbal because it was a weekend. And the second time again, we decided to serve a notice, an abatement notice under Section 80 Environmental Protection Act. So we did serve it. I actually called the Hatch. I think I spoke to Alistair or one of the licensee about our intention to serve the notice, which we did. So based on this, we are satisfied that if the tense goes up to 2 a.m. in the morning, it's going to cause a lot of problem to the residents. So we decided to object to the license.
Chair, you're on mute.
Sorry, I keep doing that. Apologies. Yeah, so Mr. Skett, if you'd be good enough to present your case to members, please. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. So I should start by saying that these 4 10s that we have on application will be my last 4 10s during my tenure at Hatch. I'm leaving the business. It will be, I don't know, the landlords will be letting it to another person. So this will be the end of my tenure there. But I would like to complete these 10s. They are, you know, arrangements I've made with people to host their events. You know, I've always thought that Hatch has had a really solid role in the community around Homerton. It's, you know, before COVID, we were, you know, a nice bar cafe, and we had very few noise complaints, still a few, but very few. And none of them were ever upheld as warranting a nuisance. After COVID, very difficult time. We flexed, and we, in order to survive, we made a partnership with the NHS, who used the space for half the week, and then in order to continue going really financially, we used the space at the weekend for events, which has been in goods, and it's, you know, kept us going for a little bit longer, and it's you know, I'm glad that we managed to do that. But the event side of things is a necessary part of the business in order for it to continue being viable. Obviously, I hope whoever takes it on next will find another way to make it viable. But for me personally, this was the only way. I actually left Hackney the year before COVID. I had to move away. My partner's father-in-law had a terminal illness diagnosis, so we left London at that point. But I had a good manager who really wanted to keep going, and so we decided to do that. you know, I'm very conscious of the licensing objectives. It's not something that, you know, anyone wants to be dealing with. I certainly don't want to cause a nuisance, but we do have a business to run, and they obviously clash a lot. I would say that the post-COVID, not that anything really in the business has changed, but the post-COVID number of complaints is obviously higher, as Neil pointed out. There is certainly a few people in the neighbourhood who conversation broke down with, and regular complaints is their way of communicating, I think. Specifically on the abatement notice on the 21st of June, obviously I'm incredibly disappointed. You know, we've been going for 12 years. Although we have had some noise complaints, it was the first time anything was really upheld and considered to be a nuisance by the council. And it was it's very disappointing to get that. On the night in question, obviously there is no real excuses, but it was the hottest day of the year, and we had we had a wedding on, and having reviewed it, having reflected on it, having looked at what we could have done differently, I think largely the problem of noise escaping through the door was our biggest problem, and especially on a hot day with people coming in and out. And it's certainly something that we've addressed with security on a few other events that we have held that haven't been under 10s over the last period since that. And I hope that will be that will be a step in the right direction towards removing these alleged nuisances. So obviously we do have a noise policy, we've got a dispersal policy, we've got a full management and operational policy for the building. Happy to send them over to anyone who'd like to see them. And they are applied within the best of our ability and our staff's ability. I guess that's it for now, really. As I said, I'd like to do these last few 10s. There's one supper club who have hosted events. I think it would be their sixth event at Hatch over the last 2 years. So I hope to do that. That's the one coming. That's the current one coming on Saturday night. And then we have 3 birthday parties: two 30th birthdays and a 40th birthday party, which are the November dates. Again, we will do our best to keep everything in line as possible. That is what we strive to do. Obviously, we let ourselves down on the 21st, but the reiteration to both the security management and just a repetitive reminder, as well as as many notices as we have around the building, to please keep the noise down and respect the residents around us, because, as I say, we don't have any intention of being a nuisance. It's not what we aim to do. I think that's it from our point of view.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Skip. Okay, so we now enter the discussion phase. Councillor Sizer, do you have any questions before I sort of raise anything?
I think for me, the onus, because of the police intervention and the environmental intervention, is really being reassured that you would be able to keep that noise down. We can't grant this unless we know for certain that there isn't going to be noise disturbance again. And at the moment, I'm just not feeling reassured by that. I've looked at the venue. There's a lot of really lovely aspects to it, but there seems to be a trigger point when it goes over the usual hours and goes into the night time. And I'm not hearing really robust answers to how you would stop the noise disturbance occurring again. It's a very residential area, it's very built up. How can you reassure us, other than saying that you've learnt a bit from last time? What will you do really radically differently to ensure that this didn't happen?
I mean, you know, we can certainly add to the robustness of our noise of our noise policy. You know, I think that we can. I can see if our sound engineer can come in and reduce the decibel limit on our limiter below what was, you know, what was originally put on there. We can certainly bring that down. You know, and I think that long term, you know, it is a case of just being as robust as possible on the points that we you know, we do already try and strive to hit. You know, we have for any event we already have door staff. It's not a regulation on our license, but we choose to do that to make sure that we permanently have someone outside that is monitoring, you know, ensuring that we, you know, our license permits 8 people outside at any one time. That's you know, it's always at the forefront of our mind to make sure that that is upheld, as well as, you know, reiterating for people to be quiet. You know, our dispersal notice at the end of the night encourages people to leave quickly, directly under the underpass that goes past Tomerton Station, not down the road. We encourage people to take a direct left after they leave the building, away from any residential space and directly to public transport. You know, we do have a policy for calling Ubers and requesting those Ubers arrive on the street outside the station as opposed to in front of the venue, again, you know, more closely to the residential area. You know, there is a variety of things that we do try and do currently, you know, and as I say, you know, making those more robust will be key to you know, trying to get through these last 4 10s and, you know, ensure that we aren't a nuisance.
Thank you. Amanda, I have got a couple of questions, but would you like to?
Yes, Chair. I don't know if you want to get clarification as to whether this noise plan that they have, was it approved by the environmental protection team and the police, given that there were problems from June? And also, you know, what measures have they taken prior to today to liaise with the responsible authorities to overcome any issues if to try and operate these events? Thanks.
And from myself, sort of linked to that, I just wondered on the night where the you know, well, there were two occasions, you know, where the council's enforcement officers were called, and on the second they issued the abatement notice. You know, what happened between that first and second occasion that, you know, the noise nuisance was so bad that, you know, people couldn't hear each other in their homes, you know? I mean, you've spoken about a delimiter, but is the delimiter just not used, or? Yeah, so I'd just like to know a bit about, you know, the history and, you know, how you responded on those first 2 occasions.
Certainly. Sorry, Amanda, I'm going to have to come back to you. I'm going to need to ask you to repeat it. I think my internet dropped out for a second there. But Lynn, on the 20th and the 21st, I mean, we do carry out our own. Obviously, we have a sound limiter. It's been, you know, it's been set up to a sound survey report that was completed by Sean Murkett. Additionally, we do have our own decibel meter, which we go outside with on a nightly basis and measure our own checks, do our own checks. As I said, the night in question on the 20th and the 21st, I mean, I do refute that somebody couldn't speak to somebody else in their own house. I don't think it was that loud, but obviously someone from the council has assessed that was, you know, that was a point. And my only assumption for it being considered to be at that level is the noise escaping from doors opening and closing much more regularly, from people wanting to be outside, despite the fact that they were regularly being told that the numbers outside were limited. And as I said, it was a failure on our management and our security not to contain those people inside when it was obviously very hot on that day. I think that's where the noise came from, both the two of those days. That we did nothing. There was nothing different. Our sound limiter is fitted into all of our speakers. Anyone playing any kind of music needs to go through that limiter. There's no negotiation. There's no other way on that. So it is always run through the same thing. And Amanda, can I ask you to repeat?
Chair, I'd advise that you get clarification as to whether the noise plan that the premises has in place, whether it was approved by the Environmental Protection Service and the police, and what measures have been taken since the abatement notice to try and overcome the concerns raised by the police and environmental protection for these events.
Thank you. Is that clear, Mr. Skit?
Yes, that's fine. That's great. So our noise policy, I believe I did. Our operational plan was sent. It was certainly sent to Hackney Council. I'm not 100% sure it was sent to the police. I can double check. I'll have a little look through my sent emails. But there was a full operational policy sent a long time ago, and I believe an updated noise policy sent over since COVID started. With regards to some changes since our big letdown in June, the security company that we use we did have a meeting with them following that day to reiterate the importance of crowd control. I mean, it's as I said, it's 8 people, and I think that's possibly where one of our difficulties comes in, is that a lot of SIA see a simple door with relatively a low amount of customers for them, and they see a door full of 8 people, and they don't see the importance of keeping the noise down. They would rather be looking for some violent actions or some drugs, looking to prevent other aspects of the licensing objectives other than noise. But it is something that we've discussed with them, and I will certainly discuss again over the next little while. Should our TENS be granted, sort of thing. We have run through another section of training with the staff members that will be on duty on the evenings, and reiterated, it was very strongly reiterated our position after the 21st of June, but it will be refreshed in everybody's minds before the upcoming events. And alongside that, we have also there are interior doors to Hatch, which have in the past been left open or propped to make ease of entry. That is now not the case. The interior doors are maintained closed at all times. We will continue our checks. We will continue our own personal noise checks with our decibel meter, standing outside as near as we can to the residential buildings, and obviously make sure that our dispersal policy goes through as well as possible.
Thank you. That's helpful. I mean, I do know the Hatch, and I wasn't aware that there were interior doors. Are they? What are they made of? I haven't noticed them, I'll be honest, but that may
they are just wooden. They are just similar to outside. They are wooden single pane doors in fitting with the aesthetic.
Okay. Now, were we to, and this is in no way to suggest that we might or might not grant these temporary event notices, but were we to consider granting them, would you consider a reduction in the closing time?
Yes, you know, if it was thought that 2 a.m. Was too late, then there's, you know, I what I request on my tens is what you know, a customer comes to me and asks for. You know, we do many events that don't require tens. They fall under our general premises license. You know, and they run quite regularly. We, you know, every now and then we get a complaint from one of them, but it's very rare. And as I've said, you know, it's, you know, none of these complaints have been upheld by the council. Obviously, I don't want a complaint in the first place. It's horrible to know that somebody thinks I'm a nuisance, but it has become apparent that there's, you know, the sensitivity of some of our neighbours is unappeasable, I guess.
Yeah. I see our licensing officer wants to come in, and also our legal advisor. So, Suba, if you could just say what you wanted to say.
Sorry, Chair. Just to clarify, in regards with this temporary event notice, the only decision members can make is whether to serve counter notice or not. We are not allowed to do any modify or additions to these tents.
So we wouldn't be allowed to do that. Thank you. Is that what you were going to raise?
Yes, Chair, and I was just going to say that the next point is really to check with the responsible authorities whether the representations made by the premises user helps to overcome or alleviate their concerns. So, and then assess it from there. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So, have you got any further questions, Councillor Sizer?
No, I don't. Thank you very much.
Me neither. So, the police authority then, and the Environmental Protection Authority. First, the police. Could you just let us know your feelings now, having heard from Mr. Skip? Thank you.
Yeah, I'm a big believer in a track record. And unfortunately, the track record here is the number of complaints over the number of years. I would understand if it was a one-off, and we obviously Alistair keeps referring to that particular event where the noise abatement notice was served, but we're not just talking about one complaint, we're talking about 41 complaints. And I appreciate some of them are going to be from the same complainant, but not all 41 are from the same complainant, which would suggest to me that there is a bit of a track record of noise escaping from the premises. Furthermore, what I would say is that if Alistair is not there running it day to day because he's moved away from London, anything he says here about what his intentions are, he's not going to be operating this business, and certainly not going forward by his own admission. So his staff that are there are operating on the understanding, presumably, that the business is no longer going to be there. So there's no investment in the premises from them on a day-to-day running basis. But I would just caution it that we're at a position here whereby we've got a long track record of noise complaints, and we're being asked to believe that in order to get these 4 Thames through the door, that there's not going to be any more complaints, and we can't guarantee that.
I will come to you, Mr. Skip, but first I want to hear from the environmental protection officers. So Adishola.
Well, as the police officer said, and due to the amount of complaints we've received, I'm not really satisfied about the license going till 2 a.m. because we've had numerous complaints and we've been unable to witness it, because most of the time when the complainant calls us, they don't pick their phone when we call them back. But on this particular day, and the Arch have been informed about all the complaint we've been receiving. So on this particular night, we were able to witness it, and I feel if the license goes up till 2 a.m. for the tents, there is going to be a lot of complaints, and the residents are not going to be happy about it. So I do think going till 2 a.m. in the morning is going to be a big problem.
Okay.
And it's going to refresh the memory of the complainant again. You know, they feel we're not doing anything, but on this particular day we were able to witness the nuisance.
Okay, so Mr. Skitch, you wanted to respond to what Mr. Hunwick said.
I just wanted to respond to Mr. Hunwick. I don't know this, and I just feel like I should mention it, is that there is a possibility that my manager may be the one who takes over the business in December. So she would have a very vested interest in ensuring that any licensing responsibilities and the responsibilities of the business are upheld. Just to make that point.
Okay, well, thank you for that. That's useful. Okay, so has anyone else got anything that they wish to say or ask at this stage? If not, yes, Miss North.
Yes, Chair. I just think if you're about to close, I think just get full clarification that the responsible authorities are seeking a counter notice for all 4 events still. That's still their position.
Good point. Yeah, is that the case, Zuba? You're seeking the counter notice for all 4 events. Sorry, the enforcement officer. Sorry. Is that correct?
Miss Odeshola Rowland, you're on mute and the chair's asking a question.
Is that clear, Adeshola, that I'm just asking whether you are seeking the counter notice for all 4 events?
Yes.
Yeah, even though the police haven't formally objected to the first.
We actually objected to all the 4.
Yeah, okay. And Mr. Hunwick, I suppose as we're on that subject, do you want to clarify why you haven't objected to the first?
Yeah, I mean, basically, because it was a supper club, I was less inclined to object to that. But I do see that it wants regulated entertainment because there's going to be music played afterwards. But it was on that basis that if there was no issue with this 10, then I would have let the following 10s go one at a time. But we're not in that position anymore because all 4 have been objected to, and then obviously it's now been heard at committee. So we haven't really got the chance to pick and choose. So yes, unfortunately, we're at a stage whereby it's all 4, or from our point of view, 3.
Okay.
We can't now object to the first one because we didn't object to it.
Yeah. Okay. Is there anything else that anyone wants to say or ask before we move to the closing statements? Okay. So, Suba, if you'd like to make your closing statement, please.
Sorry, Chair. The closing statement is from the other parties. It's not from licensing.
Oh, sorry. I beg your pardon. Sorry. Yeah. So closing statement first from, let's say, Mr. Hunwick, and then from Adeshola. Sorry.
Yeah, I've not really much to add, Chair, other than the fact that, as I say, we've got a track record of complaints being manifest from events that have been held here, and on that basis, we object to the 10s accordingly.
Thank you. And Adeshola?
It's just a shame. All I would say is just a shame that we haven't got a chance to work with the venue moving forward because there's going to be a change of management. Because obviously, moving forward, we would like to be able to, we don't want to have to keep on objecting to 10s. We want venues to be successful and to not interfere with their neighbours. But we are where we are on this one.
Okay.
Adeshola. I still object to the 4 because the residents have been affected for a long time. And I feel that if the license is raised to 2 o'clock, as I said earlier, it's going to cause more issues and they're not going to be happy at all. And it's going to seem as if we did not do our job properly because it's been witnessed. If there wasn't a statutory nuisance served, maybe we could have reconsidered that. But because there is a track record and the nuisance have been witnessed for 2 consecutive days, I feel that there is still going to be a problem, and there probably a noise. The installation, or there might be poor sound installation on the door, or probably there is other issue. The limiter has been tampered with. I'm not really sure because they said it was at the same level. So I feel that I still stand on my objection for the 4 10s.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Spit, you get the final word.
I hear everything that everybody's said. You know, it's been 12 years of Hatch now, and you know, we've not managed to keep everybody happy. It's a big disappointment to me. I always wanted to be, you know, a big part of the community. I feel like we have been, but obviously it wasn't enough to keep everybody happy. I sincerely hope that, you know, a few changes and you know, some stronger diligence on our part could see these next 4 10s go off without complaint, and I truly hope that's the case. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Okay, so let me just check my meeting procedure. So the subcommittee will now retire and consider everything that we've heard, and you will be informed of our decision by tomorrow. So if I could ask all parties now to leave, and we will, you know, discuss what we've heard.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Anwar, can you end the live stream, please? Thank you.
Well done.